break. It is the American Express halftime report here on a center court Monday. That's Greg Anthony. I'm Matt Weiner. Candace Parker is with us here as well. And Candace, obviously the big headline is not that flurry to give the Nets the lead before halftime, but the condition of Ja Morant, who went down in a heap, hopped off, didn't want to put any sort of weight on that left foot once he turned the ankle on Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot. And again, you hate to speculate on the injury. You just hope that all that it is a sprained ankle.
Yeah, you hope all that it is a sprained ankle, but by the looks of this might be a little bit more serious than we thought. As a franchise, they're struggling with health right now. Their franchise guy, the face of their team, he was putting up numbers in the first couple games, was a little bit slow to get going in this game, but you hate to see this. Just even as a competitor, as an athlete, you hate to see somebody go out with injury, and unfortunately we've seen a number of injuries to start this season.
Right, and as a young star, obviously the league fans, they want to see him playing as much as possible. Greg, in terms of the Grizzlies' development, they need reps for Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr., who's yet to play his first game of the season, if they're going to develop moving forward.
Yeah, and ultimately, you would assume they're going to get them, but this will kind of slow that learning curve, if you will. And Ja individually had gotten off to such a terrific start this season, and then to have him go down with that kind of an injury, it makes everybody within that organization, I'm sure the Grizzlies fans, kind of just hold their breath a little bit, and you hope it's not too serious and that he's going to be able to get back out sooner rather than later. But that was just gruesome to watch.
Yeah.
It can be deflating for a team, and they were, I got off to such a great start in this game before the Nets started to kind of rally and put together some good offense and defense there to get back in the game.
Well, and anybody who's played the game at any level has turned their ankle at some
I've
point.
done that many
and
times.
Sometimes
Yikes.
the more painful it is, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a worse injury. It just hurts a lot, and hopefully that's the case with Ja Morant. Of course, they're still waiting on Jaren Jackson Jr. to make his season debut. It's center court here on NBA TV. First part of a doubleheader that finishes with the Blazers and Lakers in L.A. The Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant taking on the Brooklyn Nets on the Herringbone at Barclays in Brooklyn. Welcome back. Tip-off coming in just a few minutes' time. Greg Anthony, Candace Parker, I'm Matt Weiner. Great to have you with us here. And Candace, let's talk about these Memphis Grizzlies. Ja is averaging 36 through 2 games. But they're winless so far, still waiting on Jaren Jackson Jr. to make his season debut after the meniscus injury back in August in the bubble. What kind of potential do you see for this Grizzlies team that became kind of a darling last year as they came so close to making the postseason?
Well, Matt, first and foremost, Grizzly fans, you guys can take a deep breath and exhale a little bit, because last year they started off 0-2 as well, and they were facing a similar scenario and going into Brooklyn and in Game 3. And if we remember correctly, Ja Morant blocked Kyrie's game-winning shot, and they won that game, and then went on and almost competed for a playoff position. So I wouldn't freak out this early. I would say that last year they hung their hats on getting in the paint, as well as playmaking from their bench. Their bench production was out of this world last year. And now this year they've struggled. Kyle Anderson has played well inside the paint, as well as Ja Morant, but other guys have to step up. And with Jaren Jackson Jr. out and him and Ja not able to really develop that chemistry that, we wanted to see last year at the end of last year when Jaren Jackson got hurt. I see that being a problem and them just trying to survive. But they're playing in the West. I think a lot of people have counted them out before they even started, but they have this guy in Ja Morant that refuses to let his team go away lightly. And so I'd like to see him continue to shoot the ball, continue to be aggressive, but mainly they have to create efficient shot opportunities. And so when they're able to do that on the offensive end, get in the paint, break the defense down, they'll be able to get to efficient scoring opportunities.
Yeah, they led the league in points in the paint last season, but perimeter shooting still an issue. They shot under 40% in their loss to Atlanta on Saturday night. They've got the Brooklyn Nets tonight here on NBA TV. The tip is just around the corner. Hall of Famer will have the call of that game, and Grant is with us here on the CarMax pregame. Grant, happy holidays to you. Let's talk about LeBron, who is going to be 36 years of age in 2 days, which is just mind-blowing to me. What, if any, signs have you seen that he has slowed down even a little bit?
Well, Matt, LeBron is closer in age to Greg and I than Candace. And in saying that, it's quite remarkable just how productive he's been. I watched him play last night against Minnesota. He put up 18, 9, 5 points, but it looked like he was at 40% capacity. He was just kind of going through the motions, still making spectacular plays, still able to go out and hit big shots. Yes, we know they've only had 71 days of rest since they won the finals. But I do think this team has tremendous depth. I think this team has experience. They have new energy guys who coming in who are hungry. So the main thing is just getting through the getting through the regular season and getting to the postseason. And if we go off of what we saw last year, LeBron James can raise his level of play even now as he's approaching 36.
Grant, it's a great point. And I'll tell everybody, how he's getting older. Look at his shot attempts. He's going to shoot. I guarantee you he's going to average 7 or 8 three-point attempts this year. And that tells you that's how his game's going to evolve. But looking at how their team is evolving, Grant, the pickup of Schroeder and Harrell, how do you think that manifests itself moving forward? My feeling is it actually helps them in the regular season because there are going to be nights where LeBron and Davis aren't playing. But how do you think that's going to evolve come postseason?
Well, first of all, Jay, your first point, all great players adapt and adjust over time. Michael, Kobe, we saw them be able to be more efficient, and I expect the same, and I think LeBron will shoot more from the perimeter and manage the season perfectly. But to your point, yes, Schroeder and Harrell were fantastic, and we saw it on display against the Mavs where they essentially shut down they were able to shut down Luka Doncic, their energy. Harrell was able to dominate inside. And LeBron James and Anthony Davis were really able to just kind of go out and have average games and not have to carry the weight and have to carry the team. So I think you'll see a lot of that from this year for this team because of the depth and because of Harrell and because of Schroeder and some of the new additions. And so the main thing, like I said, is just managing this season, getting to the finish line, being healthy, and then being able to raise their level of play at the appropriate time.
G. Hill, we saw over the last week or so, Kyle Kuzma has re-signed for 3 years, which I believe is a huge step in the right direction. It takes the pressure off of the franchise as well as Kuzma. What can you say about his development as a player? And a lot of times last year, he was considered part of that big three. Do you see him moving more into that role, or do you see him sharing that responsibility with a Schroeder or a Montrezl Harrell?
Candace, you make a great point. I thought last year he struggled at times sort of finding his way as that third guy or being a part of the big three for the Lakers. I thought he had some really good moments. But I think getting that contract, getting that out of the way, the Lakers showing a commitment to him, believing in him, I did think he had some really good moments in the bubble. And, of course, yesterday he came out and had great energy. And he started. I like him starting. I like him with that first unit. We know the Lakers have depth, and they have a tremendous bench. Last year, number one in the NBA, and this year it looks like they have a chance to be one of the top benches as well. But I like Kuzma with that first unit because he's an energy guy. He's a guy that's going to come out. And I thought yesterday his first half against Minnesota, we know Minnesota is maybe not of the caliber of a Portland Blazers, but he came out, he shot the ball well with confidence. He had great energy. So I do believe, Candace, he'll take a big step this year in his improvement in his development. We still forget he's a young man. He's still learning and learning what it takes to be successful in this league. But his improvement will help them as they get through this interesting 72-game regular season.
Interesting is the word. Nobody performs under the bright lights like Grant Hill, even if it's just during an interview here on NBA TV. We'll hear from Grant and Brian Anderson for Game 2 of our center court doubleheader later on as the Blazers take on maybe LeBron, maybe not LeBron, and the LA Lakers in their third game of the season. G. Hill, talk to you later.
All right. Thanks, Matt. All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Got a lot of G's here. Now I'm going to turn to GA for the topic of this extra Lakers depth. And you made the point that I thought of immediately when they brought in Schroeder. Last year, there were times when they struggled to find a third guy to not only create his own shot, but to create for others. Schroeder can do that. And to me, the benefits are really as much a part of the regular season as maybe in the postseason when they're going to lean heavily on LeBron and Anthony Davis.
It's a great point. And, we know how good Schroeder is offensively. It cannot be discounted the impact of playing with Chris Paul a year ago. Helped his maturity and development. And then the other element that he brings, he is one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. I don't think we appreciate that enough. If you go back and watch that Maverick game, he guarded Doncic a lot. And when it was time to create separation, he had a big impact on it. I mean, that guy competes in that area. And the other thing that he does, as good as Rondo is, we always said playoff Rondo. Well, you got to get through the regular season first. And I think that's another area where he will really help this team, is because he's comfortable being the guy. He's a terrific playmaker. He can shoot it. He scores it at all three levels. And he now knows how to play winning basketball. Like being in OKC, playing relevant basketball, that helps. I think it's the same story with Kyle Kuzma. Like, Kyle Kuzma is an infinitely better player than he was a year ago, because he now appreciates the little things of basketball that don't always show up in the stats that help you win. And I think he's going to have a monster year as well. This Laker team is going to be interesting as they evolve, and a lot of opportunities for those guys because of the shortened season.
You know, even with the championship last year, Candace, there were times during the regular season where the Lakers were not a pretty offensive team. In fact, they really struggled at the end of the regular season in the bubble before the playoffs started. There probably is a way to quantify this, but I'll ask you, how much better are the Lakers offensively with the additions of Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell rolling to the rim, and Marc Gasol, who was great as a playmaker last night?
Well, GA just said that Schroeder benefited from playing with Chris Paul. I think Montrezl Harrell is used to running a pick and roll with a guy like Lou Will from last year, and you're seeing that similarity this year with his pick and roll with Schroeder. I think that, you know, just in terms of getting younger, Kuzma has a motor, but so does Montrezl Harrell. You're going to get extra possessions. Just the mentality and being able to play in big games. Gasol didn't hit a field goal in the first two games, but last night played extremely well and does other things. And I think they have guys on their team that understand you have to do other things other than what shows up in the stat sheet. So I believe the Lakers have gotten better offensively as well as defensively on the ball.
Not only didn't hit a shot in the first two games,